Good evening, IntelliTravel agents. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So happy that you have joined us on this Thursday evening for our webinar series tonight. Just want to make sure before we get started that I've got good sound and that you hear me okay. So, yep, okay, fantastic. Glad to hear it. All right, so let's jump right in and get started. Hi, everyone. This is Dana Jordan, Vice President of Operations, and I want to welcome all of our IntelliTravel agents to our interactive webinar. This is just another one of your exclusive, inspirational, educational, fun events just for you. Now more than ever, education is important to protect your business and to educate your clients. So we are so happy that you continue to join us for our webinar series. Just a couple of things I want to go over before we get started. I know a lot of you are brand new and you might not be familiar with the format. So first off, general announcements. Just watch your emails for excellent online events in the calendar section in your back office at IntelliTravel.com. We've got special guest appearances by our travel partners. We've got training nights like tonight. We have our weekly podcast every week. So there's a lot of activity going on, and I just want you to tune into that calendar and make sure you don't miss anything that you're looking to tune in for. All of this training, of course, is brought to you free by IntelliTravel.com, and all of our webinars are archived and available for replay in the IntelliTutorial section of your back office site. So you can put your pencils down, because if you miss something, or if you want to see it again, or if you just got to go refill that bottle of wine and you miss a few minutes, don't worry, not bottle of wine, glass, I guess. Don't worry, it's available for you free whenever and wherever you want. Now, at the end of tonight's event, there will be a live question and answer session with our special guest. But with so many of you on the line this evening, it would not be possible for me to open up the phone lines without interrupting the entire webinar. So please, that same box that you just said you could hear me great in, that question box, it's found in the control panel, right, on your screen if you didn't see it already. That's where I want you to put your questions, and you can submit it in there anytime during the presentation. What I will do is gather up all the questions, the pertinent ones that are, about tonight's webinar, and go through them with our special guest, okay? Don't forget, there is a drawing for a prize at the end. It's a great IntelliTravel swag bag. So you will want to stick around, put some questions in the question box, and get your name in the hat for that drawing. Also watch the chat box in your control panel for any important information from tonight's presentation. But the big thing I want to tell you, especially for you that are new, if you're here, even if you lose connectivity, you fall off, you have to log back on, as long as you're registered and you're at the event tonight, you will get credit for attending the webinar. So we're not going to take roll or anything like that. It's just that the system recognizes your email as you registered, and it shows that you're here. Okay, I'm not going to delay this any longer. I want to bring on your partner host this evening from Allianz, your District Director of USA, Marilyn McHugh. Marilyn, take it away.
Take it away. It almost sounds like here's Marilyn McHugh. So anyway, hello everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join this webinar tonight. In today's world, it's so important to have travel insurance, and not only travel insurance, it's important to have the right travel insurance. So what I'm going to do tonight is go through a couple of slides, just kind of talk through, how do you approach a customer, what's available to you. But, first I want to say, as IntelliTravel representatives, and I've been in the travel industry for a very long time, you're very fortunate to be in partnership with IntelliTravel, because I don't think there's an agency out there that has the type of training that they do and the resources for you as an agent. So give yourselves a big round of applause because you are with a great company. Okay, so, the thing is that people say, well, why travel insurance? It only covers your flight cancellation. No, that's not true. First thing you want to do is you want to protect your client's investment. When they're booking a trip, it's really important to protect their investment. You want them to have peace of mind. You want them to go on vacation and feel very comfortable. It's professionalism. It's offering them a service that is going to bring your customer back to you the next time they have to book a trip. So it also is needed to meet some of the country requirements. I have agents call me and say, what's the requirement for Costa Rica? And I'll say, I don't know, what time of day is it? Because it changes constantly. So you have to keep on top of those things. But another nice part is the income. We pay a pretty high percentage to you once the trip is completed. It's anywhere from 28% up to 30%. It's for the protection, your protection. If somebody does refuse the insurance, on Agent Max, there's a signed waiver. Make them sign it because they'll always come back to you and say, you never told me about insurance. So that's important. And the other thing is we have epidemic coverage, which I will get into. But the one thing that you really need to keep in mind is your AdCam number. What your AdCam number is, it's not a number from IntelliTravel, it's not an IATA number, it is a true Allianz number, which gives you the access to policies and to gain commission, okay? So F202902, remember that number. So let me just kind of go over this really quickly. We all know it's been a nightmare the last couple of years. COVID started in January of 2020. We've done different types of training. We went out to market and said, you know what? In April of 2020, we have the new epidemic endorsement. Because the thing is that while other competitors were stepping away from it, we were standing up to it and saying, this is something we need to cover. And we're calling it epidemic, and you may see on Agent Max EEP. That is just called Epidemic Endorsement Program or Plan. Now, the important thing with this is that when we change anything in a policy, we have to go out to all 50 states to get approval. Now, we have approval in 48 states. California and Washington and New York have not approved them yet. However, we do have the accommodations for those states to cover anything COVID related. So, in 2020, what we did is we covered COVID. If somebody became ill with COVID, it was either trip cancellation, trip interruption, or if they had to be hospitalized, we covered the medical portion. We allow multiple date changes. And, I need everybody on this call to get comfortable with Agent Max. Go in, play around, pull up some of the marketing materials, take the training courses, because that's how you're going to learn how to sell insurance. Don't become an expert. Don't answer a question you don't know. Don't answer a question you do not know the answer to, because once you do, you go down this rabbit hole, you'll never get at it. Always refer them to the Allianz 800 number to get that answer. We had flexible dates up to 770 days. You book a policy today, it's good for 770 days. And we have to cancel anytime. We kept that in market where other people took it out of the market. So in March of 2021, as I said, we went out to all the states in the United States and said, we want to have an epidemic endorsement coverage. So what that is that if somebody gets sick with COVID, and we're calling it epidemic because it's COVID now, who knows what it's going to be in 10 years from now. So if somebody gets sick with COVID prior to their trip, it's trip cancellation. If they're on their way back to the United States and they test positive and they have to quarantine, it's trip interruption. Okay, so basically they're covered pre and post. Now, I just want to be very upfront with you with this epidemic endorsement. It's one of the best in the industry right now. Your customers, you can feel confident that your customers are going to be covered. The other thing we have that's new is denied boarding. So basically, you get to the airport, you get to the carrier, and they say, you know, you have a temperature, you can't get on my plane, you can't go on my tour, whatever. So that's denied boarding. However, and I get this question a lot, so I'm just going to be very transparent and upfront about it. That does not mean if the country requires you to have a COVID test and you don't have it, that's not denied boarding. If you're supposed to have your passport updated for 6 months, that's not denied boarding. Denied boarding is truly denied boarding. You get to the airport, they say you can't get on. So, you know, how do you talk about travel protection? I know sometimes it could be a little wonky. There's a lot of puts and takes, but you know, the first thing you want to say to your customers is like, listen, we want to make sure that you're covered on your trip. And I'd like to introduce you to a couple of different plans that are available to you. So explain why to take insurance for the trip. You never know what's going to happen until it happens. You know, the thing is that you can't predict illnesses or injuries that happen on vacations. You can't predict life. You know, what if you're on vacation and something happens to your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather? You know, how are you going to get home? I mean, life's unpredictable. You really have to be careful. Nothing happens to your client, but what if something happens to the family member? If they have our pre-existing conditions, you know, they're covered for that if they have to go home. Health insurance has limits. You know, one thing that you got to keep in mind when you're talking to Allianz, talking to people about Allianz insurance, is we are primary. No out of pocket, no copay, no referral. We are primary. Okay. If your client has a medical emergency and they want to receive an extra care and assistance, that's why they buy travel insurance. Flight delays can add up and cause clients extra expenses. With travel insurance, we cover delays, can mean cash for rebooking, fees, meals, and accommodations. So as I said, you know, countries are coming out with new plans left and right. You know, you have to have this, you have to have that. So what we did in order to combat that is in March, we increased the classic plan, and it is only the classic plan, but not for the state of New York and not for the state of Washington. The benefits went from $25,000 up to $50,000. So that's really a great benefit. Now, one of the most popular plans that most of the IntelliTravel agents sell is the classic plan. So Dana, I think you have your speaker on. With the classic plan, it does have the new epidemic endorsements that I was just talking about. We have the new increased medical benefits. Here's a caveat. Kids are free under the age of 17. Primary medical, and this is really the big seller and something you should constantly talk to your customers about. No out of pocket, no copay, no referrals. We also have what's called smart benefits for travel delay and baggage delay with no receipt options. You're at your customer's at the airport, flight's delayed, flight's delayed, flight's delayed. Flight is delayed 6 hours. You know what? You can apply for smart benefits, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. We also have a concierge team. So if you're in a country and you need to know something, you can always call our concierge team. We are a global company. We have commission protection, and that is up to 20%. So your customer files a claim, your commission is withdrew, but if the customer gets paid, you get paid 20% of that claim, which could be a lot more lucrative than the regular payout that you have. Also available is the classic with right to work. So if somebody is planning a vacation, but they may be starting a new job in 2 months, you want them to get the classic right to work, because the required to work What it is that if they do start this new job and their boss says, nope, you can't go on your vacation, then they're covered as long as they can provide documentation. So let's talk about cancel anytime. Cancel anytime is, it has the new epidemic endorsement. The cashback is 100% for a covered reason. A covered reason would be related to some type of the medical issue or birth or something like that, okay? And it's 80% cashback for a non-covered reason. So, you know, my dog got sick, my daughter has a play, I can't make it, I don't like my traveling companion, so I'm gonna cancel my plan. You know, I dyed my hair and it didn't come out the right color. There's a plethora of reasons that you can use. So just one thing that you have to understand is if you do use cancel for any time and you get a credit from the cruise or the airline, you have to wait till that credit expires to file a claim, because you will not be paid if you have a credit. So always keep that in mind. We'll pay you when that credit expires. So it has to be purchased within 14 days of the first trip deposit. Please keep that in mind. It has to be purchased within 14 days and cannot exceed $10,000 per person. Again, it does have the primary medical, it has the proactive smart benefits, and it has the commission protection. The other plan, and this is something that if you have a lot of people going to the Caribbean, say they're booking their plans now for the Caribbean, hurricane season starts in mid-March. You know, they were going to Barbados or someplace like that. And what happened is a hurricane hit. So there was a hurricane warning, which the National Hurricane Association said, we have a hurricane warning, you can't get into our country. That's going to be a covered reason on the Premier plan. So when you're looking to send your customers to the Caribbean during hurricane season, look closely at this plan. Okay, they also have medical benefits, the concierge, commission protection. There's a lower threshold for travel delays. It's only 3 hours opposed to 6 hours. And of course, it has the smart benefits. So take a picture of this, ladies and gentlemen. This is the most important number that you are going to need. Whether you call in, whether you book it through Agent Max, or you go on Allianz.com to book it. You have to put this number in order to get commission. So just kind of give you a really quick overview of what the plans look like. The classic plan, required to work, Premier. So, you know, here it shows you what the trip cancellation is, $100,000, trip interruption, $150,000. You know, you have medical transportation. If anybody's ever had to be medevac off of a ship, it costs anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. So you don't have to worry about that. Your medical is $50,000. There are terms and conditions. Frequent flyer miles, except for New York and Washington, you can redeposit and get $500 back. Change fees is up to $500. So you can see here, I'm not going to read every single thing, but what I am going to read is kids are free with the classic plan. Oh, I did this the wrong way. The required to work, they are covered, but they are not covered on the classic cancel anytime plan. Okay, so Dana, I need to note that they are not, children are not free on the cancel anytime and the Premier plan. We also have group plans. So if many of you have groups, we have the Vista and the Tour Protection. We also have a new plan, which is called the Group Advantage plan. Very easy to use, and I'm going to show you something on Agent Max where you can do this. With the Group Advantage plan, it is pre-ex till final. And what does pre-existing conditions mean? I have diabetes, and that's a pre-existing condition. So if I go on a trip and something happens with my diabetes, I'm going to be covered. But if I didn't have pre-existing on my travel policy and something happens with my diabetes, it was pre-existing and I did not cover myself. We have really easy booking tools, and this is something I hope all of you are using. If you're not, when we finish the seminar tonight, I want you to go on and create an account for yourself. It's Agent Max Online and logging in. It is very, very simple to do. Basically, what you have to do is, if you need help, always call Agent Services. You log in with your email address and password. But what happens is you have to create an account first. So when you log in, you have to click create a new account, okay? So once you create a new account, you're going to get an email back that says, hey, put in your email address and your ad cam and verify. So then a screen's going to come up. It's going to ask you questions to remember who you are. So if you're not using this yet, please try and use this, because it's going to be a very important aspect when you're booking. Plus the fact you can keep track of all of your claims. It's very easy. You go in, you put your state, how much the trip is. Either you put in the age or the date of birth of your travelers, what their departure date is, what their return is, and what the initial deposit is. Now, one thing you're going to press is get a quote. Once you get a quote, it's going to come up. Quotes are always based on age and state. So what you want to do is you want to save that quote so you can come back to that quote, okay? So the other thing that we have, some of the countries are requiring you to have a letter of entry. So we are calling it the embassy letter. So you have to call Agent Services or email Agent Services for this. Allow 3 to 5 business days to get it. And basically, it tells them what the emergency medical benefits are, what the transportation is, and it has a thing in here that the customer is covered for COVID. That's what a lot of the countries want to know. So you can get this, take a picture of this number and this site. You can get this for your clients, but please give it some time to get to you. The other thing is having the conversation. Insurance is one of those things that people think they never need, but you don't know what's going to happen until it happens. So you want to have it early and often. You want to have it at the time of deposit. Make it part of the overall conversation about the vacation. Before the window closes on pre-ex waiver requirements, try to book that within 14 days. You don't have to book it within 14 days if you don't need pre-existing, except for the cancel anytime. Anytime prior, 24 hours before departure, most of the benefits do apply. So what do you talk about when you talk about travel protection? It's an extension of your customer service. It's protecting your client in key areas for trip cancellation and trip interruption, for emergency medical and dental, emergency transportation, travel delays, and weather. And those are conversations when somebody comes back, if they had a good experience and they had to cancel their policy and they give you a good story, be a storyteller. Tell them, oh, I had this one customer and what happened is, this, and that, and they got their money back. That's what you have to do, is you have to become a storyteller. But don't tell them stories that are too elaborate, and don't become an expert, but tell them why they need insurance. So some of the coverage points when you're talking to them, check the coverage you think that you have. Tell your customer that, because they'll say, oh, my health insurance will cover it, all my credit cards will cover it. One thing that you have to know with health insurance, there's very, very few countries that when you go outside of this country, especially with people over 75, they don't take Medicare. So you really have to be careful on that. With credit cards, I think there's only one credit card out there that has some coverage, but not all coverage, and that's the Chase Sapphire one. Other than that, I used to travel around the world doing events, and I had American Express, and I always thought, oh, I'm safe, I have travel insurance. Well, come to find out, after I went to work for Allianz, I never had travel insurance. Thank God nothing happened to me. But some countries do require you to have the travel insurance. That's some of the things that you've got to tell your customers. Many hospitals require payment before admitting a patient. And I'll tell you a story. I was in Ireland and I was on a fam trip because I had worked for CIE at the time. And one of my customers fell. So I had to go to the hospital with them. And when I went to the hospital with them, they had asked for the passport. So the client gave the passport, and I said to the receptionist, I thought, you had socialized medicine here. And they said, yes, we do, but she's not an Irish citizen. So they keep your passport until you pay your hospital bill. That's why you need insurance. And I have to tell you, the insurance she had was not good insurance and couldn't get in touch with the insurance company. So she had to put it on a credit card. With Allianz, we are global. We are a global company, and that's what you have to keep in mind. Okay. The other thing is, what we do as a company, being a global company, is we go out, we look at different facilities around the world and say, okay, this is a reputable state. We don't inspect them because we're not inspectors, but when you go to the concierge service and say, I need a medical doctor, I need a hospital, they'll tell you of a reputable service within that area. When are you traveling? During the winter or during hurricane season? And that's why I said you got to look at the premier plan if it's during hurricane season. And then who you're traveling with and who's staying home. If grandma and grandpa are staying home and you're traveling with the kids, something happens to grandma, you want to have pre-existing so you can get home pretty quickly. So I just put this up just to kind of give you, listen, I've been in the travel industry for a very long time. And I know it's so easy to hit that easy button that when you're doing Vacation Express or something like that, where they have insurance too. But look at that easy button and do a comparison. Because, for example, and I think we did this with cruise lines, what the hospital bill would be, what Allianz would pay, and what other suppliers would pay, they're going to be out $14,000. Transportation. We've had situations where we had to bring the parents to a bedside of one of the insurers. We pay for things like that. Our cover suppliers don't pay for things like that. Medical transport was $34,000. We paid the whole thing. Suppliers paid $12,000. So as a total, it was $80,000 in claims. The supplier insurance paid $50,000, and your customer was out $30,000. So really look at those things when you're telling your customers about insurance. So the one thing I want to talk about very quickly is the technology innovation that we have. The Travel Smart app, and I know, listen, I'm not technologically savvy. And when somebody said download the app, I was like, are you kidding? I don't think I can do that. But I did. It's a dynamic dashboard. It's your customer's account. So while they're in country, if they need assistance around me, offering customers information about assistance and facilities available to them in their location. If they need to contact Allianz for anything, if they need country information, shows them helpful information on any country. The best part about this is the translator, which I think is just phenomenal. Because if you've ever traveled to Asia or places like that, there's not many people who speak English. So it has your policy in there. So like your flight did get delayed, the customer can file a claim right on this. And it provides real-time flight status that can be viewed anytime on the home screen. So this is called the Travel Smart app. Talk to your customers about it. You can get a flyer off of Agent Max and say, hey, you may want to download this because it's going to be helpful when you're out of the country. So with that, I want to give you the agent services number because that is the one important number that you are going to need on a continual basis. Any question you have, no question is a stupid question. I know that a lot of people say that and you hear that a lot, but I am telling you, no question is a stupid question, because the fact that you're not insurance experts. We don't expect you to be insurance experts. So if you have a question, you need to call agent services. Now, with customers, direct them to the Allianz website and the 800 number for Allianz. Not agent services is for your use only, okay? So with that, I'm going to open the floor. Dana, you can open the floor. And if there are questions, I'm happy to answer your questions. If I don't know the answer, I'll get back to you, because I've been doing this for 3 years, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you, insurance is not an easy thing. And I may not know the answer, but I will get the answer for you. So with that, Dana?
All right, fabulous. Thank you so much, Marilyn. That was an excellent presentation and lots of information. The questions have been coming in throughout the presentation, so let's go ahead and talk about some. Now, the first one is about that ACCAM number. If you can go back to that slide, and there's a lot of newbies on the line in this webinar. Can you talk about what that number is? Is that something that once you log into Agent Max and sign up, it's always in there? We have to add it every time. So can you just go through that information one more time?
Okay, I want everybody to take a picture of this. This is your user ID for Agent Max. This is your ID if you want commission on your policies, whether you're doing it on Agent Max, you're calling it in, or you're going to the Allianz website. There are some B2B, B2 business to consumer policies on the website that you cannot book, but I'm telling you, the policies that you have are better than the ones on the website. So this is just a unique identifier that says, I'm an IntelliTravel agent. So it's F202902. When you sign up for Agent Max, that's the ad cam you're going to use, because it's going to ask you for your ad cam. You don't have to put that in every time. Once you sign up for Agent Max, a screen will come up, and that screen will say, welcome, let me see, did I have that one in here? Welcome, Chris, IntelliTravel. So it'll already be there. That's not it, but it'll be there, and it'll tell you what your ad cam is, okay? So it's F202902. I know that one by heart. So does that answer your question, Dana?
Yes, it certainly does. And can you stay right on this screen, Marilyn? Because the next question is around the quotes. So there were lots of questions. Once you quote a client, is it that price for those first 14 days, or do you have to re-quote every time? How long are the quotes good for? Can you just talk about the quote?
Sure. There's going to be a couple of things. When you send a quote, and this is what I always tell people, when you send a quote, one thing you have to do is you have to save that quote. Because sometimes people say, oh, I don't need insurance. What do I need insurance? And then before their trip, they're calling and saying, I really need insurance. The quote is good for like 30 days. Unless our prices go up, the quote is good for a year. And our prices don't go up that much. So, just early and often. And what's going to happen now is there's going to be a little bell up here where it says the 800 number to remind you that you send out quotes, which is really great, because then you can call your customer and say, hey, I sent you a quote, a week ago. Are you still considering insurance? So you got to look at things like that. Okay.
Wonderful. And still staying on the same page, now that waiver up at the top, is that for if they decide not to get insurance? You're supposed to have them sign the waiver. Yes. Can you go through that?
Okay, I can't click on it because this is a presentation, but it's a waiver, and it just says that, that they declined insurance, and just have them sign it. You want them to sign it for your own good, because what happens if anything happens on their trip, they're going to come back to you and say, you didn't tell me about insurance. So it's actually an insurance waiver is what it is. Let me see if I can go on live. I'm just going to go on My Agent Max. Let me see if I can go on My Agent Max. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll probably have to sign out and sign in again. Yeah. See, this will come up every time I save my password because, ladies, I don't know about you, but I'm really bad about my password.
Me too, Marilyn. I'm right with you.
Yeah, on my iPhone, I have to look up my password all the time. Okay, so this is really a waiver. It says, print your name, who you're sending it to, what the email is, and then you're going to view and print it. I don't know if it's going to come up or not. Yeah, it says, did you protect your travel insurance investment? Agency recommended that you purchase the travel insurance. I acknowledge has offered me travel insurance. I do not wish to purchase it. Very cut and dry, very clean. Okay. Now, being that I have my Agent Max up, I want to go through a couple of things with you guys because I think this is going to be really important. One of the important tabs here is your User Resource Center. Okay. Now, that has marketing opportunities. There's flyers that you can print up with your name on it. It has the marketing manual. It's learning at Agent Max Online. It walks you through how to do a group booking. There's also training on there, a glossary of terms, and frequently asked questions. Okay, so there's articles on trips and dealing with trip cancellations. There's forms on there for requesting commission protection. So it's a really great site. Your reports is what is going to be good for you. Now, this will tell you what you've booked and when. Okay. It will not tell you everybody else. It's just your policies that you have booked. You can only do yourself. You can't do my agents or other agencies. You can only do yourself on this. So you want to know what you booked year to date. You want to know what you booked monthly or quarterly. You can get that information here. So, it's a very, very, very easy, user-friendly site to work with. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, there are lots of questions on how we get to Agent Max. Absolutely. In your back office, we have one of the drop-down tabs talks about Insure It is what it's called. When you click on Insure It, it gives you the instructions on how to first-timers get into Agent Max. So please look in your back office for those of you that are new on those different tabs under your book tab, I believe it is. And it's called Insure It. And it's a whole page about Allianz because, of course, they're our preferred partner for insurance. You mentioned a little bit about New York and Washington. Are they not included at all, Marilyn? Can you talk about the various states and what's going on there?
They're included. Like I had said earlier, what happens is we go out to all 50 states in the United States and say, this is what we want to include in our plans. And every state has to approve it. New York hasn't approved it yet. So what we did is we come up with what we call the Accommodations Act for New York residents and for Washington state residents. Basically what it is, they get COVID, they're covered with trip cancellation. They get COVID on the return trip, they're covered with trip interruption. But it's a flat rate of $250 a day times 5 days.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And just to clarify, the product Allianz is for U.S. citizens, residents only, not Canada. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Fantastic. Next question. There are lots of questions around the annual plan for travel professionals.
Oh,
Can you talk about that a little bit?
There's two different things that we have. We have the annual plan, the deluxe annual plan, which you can find on Agent Max. And each city and state and age and everything like that has, it does change. And then we have the travel professional plans. And that's where on Agent Max, you can find, see, because like, let me just do this. I'll show you. So I'll do this just as for giggles, okay? I probably shouldn't say that, but I'm saying it. I'm going to do a quote. The only thing that comes up for me is, I only wish I was 46 years old. The only thing that comes up for me is a travel agent plan. So let me just show you that. 24. Okay, so see, this is how I'm putting in a quote. You see that? I'm going to get a quote. When my quote comes up, I'm going to say the trip details, and this is called the professional travel agent plan. And here's the coverage on that, if you can see it. Trip cancellation, trip interruption, baggage delay, emergency transport. This is an annual plan. Now, what you have to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, is if you purchase this plan, you can only purchase one annual plan a year. On my Agent Max, nothing else comes up but this. Yours is different than mine. So if I select this product, what happens, then it goes into $138. It's going to ask me who the supplier is, going to ask me who the destination is, and then it's going to ask for all of this information. And then, you know, either save the quote or email the quote. If you want to email your customer a quote, you email the quote, but you have to fill in all this information first. It's a really great tool. If you haven't used it, go in, play around with it, do mock quotes. You know, it's there for you to work with. It does time out if you let it sit for 20 minutes, just so you know. Okay?
Perfect. All right. Now that letter around, you know, you were mentioning about some countries require the letter. Can you go
Right.
back to that a little bit? And
Sure.
some of our newer agents weren't too clear on that. If we could just go through what that's for and all about one more time.
Okay. So, for example, there are two countries which constantly requires this letter, which is Turks and Caicos and Costa Rica. They want to know before anybody enters their border into their country that they have medical benefits, and that the medical benefits, like in Costa Rica, are 50,000. Turks and Caicos is only 25. But they want to know what their medical benefits are. They want to make sure that they have medical transportation. And the most important thing is they want to know if they have COVID coverage. So that's where you have to call Agent Services, 855-524-3687. And what you have to do is you have to give them the person's name, their address, and their policy number and email, and they'll send it right to your customer. It takes 3 to 5 business days. And it's just it's a one pager, so they don't have to scroll out, you know, all their terms and conditions to a country.
Perfect. Now, another big question that was asked was around supplier insurance versus Allianz. You did have a screen that gave a little bit of a you know, breakdown. Oh, there it is. Perfect. And so we get this, how we can break this down, compare what through the terms and conditions. It's just important to read those. Can you just go through how they get all this information to be able to compare the suppliers versus Allianz?
Here's what you have to look at. The three important things that you have to look at. You know, like somebody told me, oh, well, I can get canceled anytime. And I'm not sure what company they said. And I said, that's great. How much you're getting back? You know, is it 70%? Is it 60%? Some of them only give back 50%. You know, if you're getting the total amount back, that's fine. But you want to look at what's the trip cancellation, what's the trip interruption, and what are the medical benefits and the transportation, because those are the things that are really important. So, and they're not hard to look at if you're you're in queue with one of the cruise lines or something like that, just eyeball it and say, okay, they're only paying 10,000, but Allianz will cover the whole thing. So that's really what you have to do.
Yeah.
I wish we had a chart that we can compare, but we can't because, you know, cruise lines and other vendors change their policies constantly.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that commission guarantee, can you go back to that? Lots of new agents on the line, like I said. The commission guarantee, many questions. What does that mean exactly? Do we get our whole commission? Do they have to file a claim to get the commission?
Right.
Or
It's
does it
called,
just show up?
okay, no, it doesn't show up. That's something you got to constantly follow up on, constantly. Okay, you had a customer, your customer filed a claim. So they got paid with their claim in like 3 weeks or something like that. So, okay, they got their claim. I'm going to use $100 because I'm not good with math. So they got $100 back. Then what you do is you go to Agent Max, go to the commission protection form, fill it out with their policy, their claim number, and it says commission protection. So you'll get 20% of that $100. So it's $20. I mean, you know, that's not bad at all.
Now you talked about the claims, and that was leading into the next set of questions. When it comes to if the clients have to file a claim, do they do that? Do we as the agent do that for them?
No. Yes.
Can you talk about all of that process?
Well, I sure will, because you do not want to do claims for your customers. What you do is you refer them to the Allianz website, where we have a URL that says claims inquiries or claims, and they could even do it on that mobile app. Do not do it for them, because you are going to be in a mix you do not want to be in, because we're going to be asking for a lot of different information you will not have access to. You won't have access to their bank accounts. You won't have access to their medical records. So you do not want to go down that road. Somebody calls you and say, well, you know, I don't know how to do this. Open up the Allianz.com website, say, here's claims. You just got to fill out this information. Do not file a claim for the customer, because once you do that, they're going to keep coming back to you. And if they don't get paid, they're going to come back to you. So have them do it on their own, work with the claims department, because the claims department may say, okay, well, you know, you say you had COVID, I don't have the test. And, you know, some people are trying to provide the home test. The home test is not a test. It has to be the PCR test. So you don't want to get involved in that, because you'll be going back and forth with the customer and claims and Let them file the claim. Just tell them you're not allowed to file the claim for them. They have to file the claim.
Yep, that's good advice. Thank you. Okay, going back to the groups slide. Right. You had one slide around the groups. Question that came out of that, does everybody in the group, is it like a blanket insurance? What if some want it and some don't? Do you get to mix and match the premier versus the other, or you only get this kind?
Well,
so
no.
Of group questions.
One thing I don't have on here is the group travel protection. Now, with the group travel protection, what it is that the group plan, I'm trying to pull something up while we're on here. Let's talk about the deluxe policy, because people had asked that question. So Dana, I hope you don't mind if I jump back to that.
No, that's fine.
The annual plans, can you see that on my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so it comes into 5, 7.5, or 10K. Now, with the annual plans, again, you have to remember, once, like, say they do a plan for 10K, okay? So their first trip, they claim $2,000. Now they only have $7,000 left for the rest of the year. If you have somebody who travels more than twice a year, I'm not sure I would recommend this plan. That's my personal view, because once it runs out, it's an annual plan. And if they've used that money, they can't book another Allianz plan until that plan expires. So be careful with that, okay? Now, the other thing is the group AMA. Yeah, let me see if I have the right one. Okay, so basically with the group travel plan, what it is that you can create a group in Agent Max, right? And this is a tutorial on that. You create a group and say there's 20 families in the group and only 10 want the insurance. Okay, fine, not a problem. Not everybody has to take the insurance. However, with this insurance, the good part about it is you don't have to book it until final payment. It's non-age rated, which means it doesn't matter if you're 8 or 80. It's going to be based on the cost of the trip. Okay, so if the trip is like $5,000, I think it's like 6 or 7% of that trip. So it's the cost of the trip is what it is. Okay.
Awesome. All right.
And it's very easy to book, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. I'm opening all these screens and showing you my emails, which I shouldn't be showing you.
It's okay. This is fantastic information. Now, one question that keeps coming up is around, if we are booking our own travel and we want to get an Allianz plan as a travel advisor, is there a travel agent plan with a lower rate? Or is it just we get our own commission back and that's,
No, when I showed you this, when I went through and I booked myself a plan, you have the agent plan that comes out and you can purchase that plan for yourself. But remember, if you're doing more than a couple of trips a year, you may want to do individual trips and you do get commission on your own plans that you book. Not on the travel agent plan, but if you book like the classic or the cancel anytime, you are getting commission on that.
Okay, so there's the difference, and to know that. Very, very informative. Well, this has been fabulous. I think that covers the bulk of the questions. A lot of the things you went over in great detail, but please, please remember all of this information once you get into Agent Max and start playing around, just like Marilyn said, you really then can put your hands on it and get your eyes on it and be able to see all of the information. Now, are there quotes when it comes to the quotes? Does it give all the different packages, or does you have to pick a plan and send that to your client? This is a last minute question coming through.
Actually, what happens is, and unfortunately, I didn't save my quote. So let me go through this again, and I'll just show you. I'll show you how you can, I think I can show you how to do this. My Agent Max is a little different from yours. It only gives me a few options. It doesn't give me all the options you get. And I'm kind of jealous about that, just so you know. Okay, so I'm going to do that today. I'm going to get a quote, okay? So I have my trip details here, my product. Yep. Oh, I like that. Oh, I want to see what a product comparison is. So I'm going to click on that. Now with me, only travel agent's going to come up, but all of the plans you have access to are going to come up. Okay. So you say, okay, well, I think, let me send this to my customer because I want them to make the decision. So you go to email comparison. You send it to your customer. I always recommend that you CC yourself on it. And it's going to ask you to select products. I can only select the travel agent product. You can select all of the products. What I recommend is you select 3 products. You select the classic plan, the premier plan, or the cancel anytime plan. Let them look at the benefits, okay? And send them a nice little message. Sally, great talking to you. Here's the information on the insurance. This is really a great opportunity for you to make sure that you and your family are covered while traveling, okay? This is all on Agamax. That's why I say go in, play with it, do whatever you need to do. Just don't put in your own credit cards in, because you'll book a plan. But you know, it's there. But go to the resource center, because the resource center has, you know, frequently asked questions. It has the training portal. Now with the training portal, because you know what, we're throwing a lot of information at you tonight. With the training portal, you know, become a specialist. When you enroll, it's like 15-minute videos. It's not long videos, but it'll tell you, you know, what is pre-ex? How do you, you know, eligibility for pre-existing conditions. What is the eligibility? Second chance email and how to do second chance email. It'll give you information on the Travel Smart app. So there's a lot of different things in there, and you get your buttons and badges, as I call them, once you finish each of these courses. But we try to keep it to a minimum. And the reason why we try to keep it to a minimum is because we're all busy, and we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of what you're looking at. So go on there and play around with it. You know, while you're at work and you don't have anything to do, pull it up and look at it, because you can put it on your phone. That's the best part. You can put it on your phone. So if you are like waiting for the bus or you're commuting, all you have to do is, you know, on the bus, go through one of the courses. Put your headphone in, go through one of the courses, complete it. So there's a lot of different ways.
Awesome. That is fantastic. Well, Marilyn, again, this has been a wonderful presentation, so much information. We're at the top of the hour, so I do have to cut it now. But I've got to say, I know in the chat there were some folks that said they couldn't hear, they might have lost sound. Please understand that this webinar will be uploaded in the IntelliTutorial section of your back office in just a few days. So if you want to go through and see any parts of the presentation again, it will be available for you for free in just a few days in your back office. So keep that in mind. Certainly, we just want to thank you, Marilyn, for coming on and giving us such fabulous information all around Allianz. We feel great about selling them now, and it is time to grab that lucky winner for the IntelliTravel swag bag. And I am pulled the name, and I hope I say your name right. I'm sorry if I don't. Amaret, Germany. Amaret, Germany, thank you so much for your questions tonight. You are the winner of the IntelliTravel swag bag. We will send it out to you. We'll get your contact information off the system and send that right out. And with that, wow, thanks so much everyone for tuning in. I love this webinar series because we learn so much from our preferred partners. And Allianz, Marilyn, you did such a great job. Thanks everybody. With that, I'm Dana Jordan, Vice President of Operations, saying good night, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Dana. Bye.
You're welcome, Marilyn. Bye now.